Okay, but
I
anyways,
mean, I can barely hear it.
but guys, we are back with Yu-Gi-Oh news you might have missed. And what's really exciting here is for those of you who are not aware, Master Duel released in a bunch of other countries on Android or iOS, and I downloaded it to both my iPad and to my phone, and both are working beautifully. Data transfer wasn't an issue whatsoever. It's going great. So this is definitely something you'll want to pick up. And I don't know about you two, but I'm excited because now you're increasing that many more players to this game, and it's already massive. Do we think that this could end up getting kind of crazy like Hearthstone did at one time? What do you think, Shadow?
It's honestly going to depend on what they do with their road plan and everything moving ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Because as most people have already pointed out, is that they're not being too clear on what they're actually going to be releasing just yet. We do know that there are events coming at some point. They're adding a few more modes from listening to people complain. They're
Yeah,
probably going to add more solo missions. And overall, it's just generally it's new, and we're still waiting to see what exactly they're going to do with it.
yeah, yeah. I agree. Grunt, you're thinking?
My thinking is that it's gotta depend on how they manage things from here. I mean, if they can keep people's attention for long enough to the point where they add new stuff, then they can keep it going. If they end up, and I'm not trying to say Konami has to be fast, but people have a short attention span, and
Mm-hmm.
if Konami, doesn't make a big enough change at some point, or at least add a little something, or at least give us a roadmap, some people might start walking away, and it won't be the end of Master Duel. It might just cause a dead period before it resurges.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. I really think, and I was thinking about this earlier, it would be really neat if they had different formats that you can play under. I think that would be absolutely huge. So if I want to do GOAT tournaments, I can do GOAT tournaments, or common charity tournaments, I can do common charity tournaments, and find similar liked people who want to play like that. Man, if they could do something like that, I think we're definitely going to be moving in the right direction. So it'll be interesting. Uh, Moving on to the cards that we usually go over. So I believe no, I don't. I think we were past this. What slide did we end up on?
We ended on the Predaplant. Oh no, it was right after this, I think.
No, we left off on
Yeah, I
what was it?
think
It was some of
we're
the
at
random
this
stuff.
one. We're at
We're
War Rock Medium, I think.
medium.
Yeah, this is
Right,
where we are.
a little more. I think it
No,
was right
we're
after
we're
this.
on medium.
Was it that? I thought I don't
Yep,
remember
this was
reading
it.
that. Yeah, okay, I was gonna say, okay. So here we go. It's Warrock Medium. It's a continuous spell. You can use the second effect of this card's name once per turn. While your opponent controls a special summon monster and you control a level 7 or higher Warrock monster, neither player can activate the effects of monsters on the field during main phase 1. Oh, that's kind of funky. Wow. During your main phase, you can activate this effect. You cannot special summon monsters for the rest of this turn, except warrior monsters. Also, set one War Rock spell or trap from your deck directly to your field, except for War Rock Medium. And then we have Cross Exclusion. When your opponent activates a monster effect from the hand, negate the activation. Then, if your opponent has any cards in their hand, your opponent discards one card of their choice. Okay, so very interesting, gentlemen. Grunt, what do you really like or dislike here?
So Warrock medium. I don't like Warrock as a deck. I don't think a lot of people do, unfortunately, which is
Mm-hmm.
a shame. I think they have nice artwork and
They do, yeah.
concept, but I mean, by Warrock standards, this is pretty good. It gives you a small control function. Essentially, you have your one-sided skill drain essentially because none of your Warrocks really activate in main phase 1. They're
Yeah.
battle oriented.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea is that it's mostly a negative for your opponent. Um, and again, locking yourself into warriors, a lot of warrior cards already do that. So just being able to set any Warrock spell trap, it's really not bad. There's some good
Yeah.
ones.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
think
know.
it's okay.
It doesn't fix Warrocks, but it's good. It does what the deck needs, and it gives them more consistency. And then cross exclusion. we've had multiple counter traps that hit hand traps. I know that debunk is an example of one that keeps coming up. And I think that's the biggest complaint I've heard people say is that it's like compared to other ones like debunk, it's really not doing anything, especially
Yeah.
since your opponent chooses what they discard.
Yeah, I would
So
almost play the one that it's like skill drain, but you pay 1,000 and then it negates everything in the hand. But what's
I
that
believe
card?
that's I think that's
Mind
That is
is it
mind
something.
mind
drain.
drain? I was gonna
Mind
say, is that
drain.
mind
Thank
drain?
you.
Soul drain's from the graveyard, I think.
Yes. So
Still drains the graveyard.
you
Still
might
drains
as well
field.
play that in if you really want to stop hand traps, because then it's a continuous effect. But wouldn't that affect both players, Shadow Mew, if you played Mind
Yes.
Drain? Okay.
Mind drain would affect both players.
Right. In this one, is that the advantage then for players that this one actually just affects your opponent?
Realistically, in most decks where they would fear hand traps the most, they're probably just going to play the Link 1 Parallel Exceed engine into Reflugia. Because we do have Great Trap Hole, which does the same thing and burns your opponent for 2,000.
Oh, okay. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. Makes complete sense to me. So my question is why do you think this card was created then, if there's better options?
Counter fairies.
Yes, I can see that. Yep. They do like to get their traps going. That's for sure. Grunt, how about you? Why do you think this ended up coming out?
Say that again. I'm sorry.
So,
what
if
came
there's
after?
better options, because I mean, why go ahead and have this card come out when there's better choices that aren't that expensive?
Konami always likes to make cards that are either obsolete or trying to do something similar. I mean, it's kind of the logic of any trading card game. In order for the game to have good cards, there have to be bad cards. So, this is just another example of something that's mediocre. It can get the job done. It's just,
Well, you'd have to hard draw it. I mean, unless you get Trap Trick. I mean, there's just I don't know. There's a lot that would have to go right. I think to play.
There's no way to search it, as far as I can tell.
Oh, you
Though,
can't.
granted,
Oh wait,
there
that's
is
right.
a specific part of the Japanese name that just has the double X. So maybe it's an X Saber card for some reason.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, the next one we've got here is Flip Jar. It's a level 3 Earth Rock flip effect. You can only use this card's name or this card's name's effect once per turn. Flip, change all other monsters on the field to face down defense position. Then return all face-up spells and traps on the field to the hand. Then each player can set spells and traps from their hand up to the number of the cards returned to the hand by this effect. Oh, that's goofy. Okay, and then we have this next one here, MK11, level 5 Water Machine. You can only use the second effect of this card's name once per turn. If Umi is not on the field, this card gains 700 attack, but it cannot attack directly. If Umi's on the field, you can target one face-up non-water monster and destroy that monster. Oh my. Yeah, so Shadow Mew, do you like any of these?
These just feel like really random legacy support.
Yes.
Like Flip Jar doesn't
that's
seem
why I
like
included them.
Yeah, it's just really weird legacy support. I can see the MK11 being more useful just because we have been seeing all those new water cards like the Karayui Shin Serpent Monster that just acts as a one-sided floodgate.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And just all the other cards that benefit from you having a card named Umi on the field. So
Yeah.
it will probably see more play than Flip Jar.
Yeah, Flip Jar is just odd. The only reason I could see this being useful is if someone's got no, because Mystic Mind wouldn't even go off. I mean, yeah, this just or would allow it to go off. This is just an odd card to me. The Ghost Trick card, I just feel does basically the same thing, but that would be both sides of the field. I don't know. Grunt, where do you see Flip Jar even being used?
Flip Jar is a gimmick. I mean, the main gimmick here is that it's kind of a monster effect that's essentially a giant Shroonade for all face-up cards, which, again, I'm not saying this makes it good, but it's like, I could totally see some random funny gimmick deck where someone is constantly bouncing some continuous spell or trap to abuse it. It's,
Yeah.
I literally just put it here because it's like, hey guys, here's what Cyberjar has been up to for the past 20 years. He
Got a mixer.
exactly.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is even the art to me looks odd. Okay,
He just looks happy.
yeah.
It's
All
Mike
right.
Wazowski in a jar.
Oh, it is. Look at it, guys. It does look like
Yes.
Mike Wazowski. Oh my gosh.
Yes, Cyberjar. It's also part barrel, part concrete mixer.
Oh. All right, so for the next one here, we've got Light Law Medium, a level 2 Light Fairy. Once per turn at the start of your opponent's battle phase, you can target any number of attack position monsters that your opponent controls. During this turn, while this card is in your monster zone, those monsters must attack this card if able. Once per turn, when an attack is declared in battle between this card and an attack position monster your opponent controls, you can negate that attack, and if you do, inflict damage to your opponent equal to half that monster's original attack. Oh, that's kind of interesting. So, but it's only a once per turn. Once per turn when an attack is declared. So, Shadow, can you trigger this multiple times, or is it just the one time?
You can use both effects once per turn.
Okay. Oh my. Yeah, this is some odd support.
This is going to be a common. There's no way this. If this is a secret, I'm going to be upset.
Yeah, I would be too. This is a terrible card. Okay.
I thought this was funny to include because this is based on an old like vanilla from some random game where the card was never actually printed or something. So they actually were just like, hey, we'll take the exact same name and buff up the art, and here we have a new effect monster. And again, the effect is kind of funny and niche, and I just thought we've been looking at all the good stuff from Dimension Force, maybe show some of the random pack filler stuff.
Yeah, oh, yeah, this is not a good one.
This better not be a secret.
Yeah.
It's not going to be a secret. I think it's just got interesting art, though, and it's got a very nice effect. And again, it's a reference to an older card, kind of the same as Flipjar and Mark 11 back there.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I'd like them to make more useful cards that are commons. So I don't know. I mean, it has uses.
Like Parallel Exceed.
Yes, exactly. Yes, that's a great example, Shadow. I don't know. I just don't like it when they put cards in that the only way they're getting used is by kids who I make decks for. They don't have better options out there, so they have to use something like this. And since most of the base I feel is more adult teenagers now, I'm just surprised that they're still putting cards like this out there.
I will say I can't think of one use for this.
Okay.
And that's by playing some really janky Dark Door control deck. Where you can only attack with one monster per turn.
Oh, yeah, and don't get me wrong, I could see someone pulling off something crazy, like so. Let's say Grand Maju's about to attack, but no, it wouldn't even work. It's half the monster's original attack. Yeah, it's not that great. Okay, so let's move on. All right, so this looks interesting. So Therions, is that what these are? Is that how I say that?
Therions.
Therions. Okay, so Therions Bull Ian. It's a level 7 fire warrior monster. You can only use the first and second effect of this card's name each once per turn. You can target one Therions monster or warrior monster in your graveyard, special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, equip that target to this card. You can target one Therions card you control and one card your opponent controls and destroy them. Oh, that's nice because you could just pop what's ever equipped. A Therions monster equipped with this card gains 700 attack, and the second effect of this card's name. Oh, that's pretty good. And then we have Therions Leap or Fam. You can only use the first and second effect of this card's name each once per turn. You can target one Therions monster or Aqua monster in your grave, special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, equip that target to this card. During your opponent's turn, quick effect, you can target one Therions card in your spell and trap zone and one card your opponent controls and return them to the hand, and it's got the same effect as the last one. It gains 700 attack, and then it also gains the second effect of this card's name. These are very interesting, especially since one was fire and then another one was water. Then we have Yugioh. It's a level 8 psychic. And it says here you can target one Therions monster or psychic monster, and then you get to special summon this card, and then you get to equip by targeting what was in the grave. And then while you control an equip card, Therions monsters you control cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. And then again, it gains 700 attack, and then it gets the second effect. And then we have Lily, and this one you can use again only the first and second effect. You could target one Therions monster or plant monster in your graveyard, special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, again, you equip the target to this card. So it's interesting how they all have this going for them. And then you can send one card from your hand or field to the graveyard, add one Therions spell or trap from your deck to your hand, and then again, it's going to gain the 700 attack and the second effect of this card's name. Oh, wow. This is fascinating. All right. And then we've got King Regulus. So it's a machine monster. So interesting. I like how they're hitting all the main stuff here. So they got machines, plant, psychic, warrior, and aqua. This is really interesting.
Fun fact right away before you read this guy.
Yeah.
He happens to be, he's an earth machine.
Oh, yeah. Very interesting. Yes, which means there's good support there. Let's see here. Oh, so again, you can only use the first and second effect of this card's name each once per turn. You can target one Therions monster or machine monster in your grave, special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, equip that target to this card. When your opponent activates a card or an effect, quick effect, you can send one Therions monster card from your hand or field to the graveyard, negate the effect. And then, of course, you can target, or the targeted monster that it's equipped with, you gain the 700 attack and the second effect of this card's name. And then Therion's Charge. You can only activate one card with this card's name per turn. Send one Therion's card or one Perpetual Engine aggro system from your hand or face-up spell and trap zone to the graveyard, and then you get to draw 2 cards. Ooh, that's really nice. I like that one quite a bit. Okay, let's go ahead and dissect what we've got there. So, Grunt, what do you really like about this archetype?
So the big appeal for these guys is that obviously they can work with each other, but kind of like what generators did, they can technically be splashed in other decks. Ein, for example, the fire one we saw at the very start of the bowl, he can literally be used in like an Infernoble deck. He could be used in pretty much any warrior deck that revolves around equipping. It's not a bad idea. And the cool thing is that he's kind of like a Pankratops because you can literally just destroy him and something your opponent controls. So it can become awesome. A warrior-specific Pankratops.
Yeah, I like that quite a bit.
Fam.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna go real quick and say that Fam is literally probably one of the weaker ones, just because it can't use its own effect to like affect itself. It has to be a Therion in your spell and trap, so it's not as splashable. Duke is literally just good protection for your equips. He's not going to see use in many psychic decks, but there's that. And then the plant one is pretty good in archetype, but again, there are some plants that like to be sent. And the point is, all of these are good. And Regulus, the last thing I'll say about him is that Earth Machine literally has an Omni Negate now, where they equip a machine to him, and he can just be used as an Omni Negate by tributing himself.
Oh, that's just awesome. Yeah, that's really good. And then I like this spell too. I think it's very effective that you can just send a card to be your starter, so you can just send something right away, and then if you want, you get that ability then to have the draw of 2. I mean, yeah, that's pretty good in my opinion. Shadow Mew, you're thinking?
I was playing with them a bunch when they were first released, like as a preview thing. Just if you built them just as a Therions deck pure, are super resilient because of the fact they gain each other's effects when they're all equipped to each other.
Yeah, that's just nuts.
On top of the fact that King, I'm not going to say his full name, has a 1-turn Omni Negate, which is basically normal summon Alistair, by normal summon Planet Pathfinder, get their field spell, which we'll see in a minute, which gets you King. Then King can now special summon with Planet Pathfinder because Planet Pathfinder is a machine.
Oh wow. Oh my gosh. Oh that's good. That's pretty darn
Yeah, and
good.
any deck can play it that runs Planet Pathfinder.
Not
That,
to mention that Regulus can also just pitch other Therions in your hand, so instead of special summoning them, you can fill your grave with more to equip.
oh man. Yeah, that's pretty strong, guys. I like it. Since
Not,
you brought up, oh sorry, go ahead.
not to mention they're also an exceedingly powerful rank 7, rank 8 engine.
Yeah, I mean they're all big. I mean you've got Regulus here that's 8, then you've got the plant and the psychic one that's 8, and then the other two are 7s. So it's nice to have something big actually come out onto the field like that. And their stats aren't too bad either. They've got pretty decent stats, especially
Well, some
for being so easy to summon. Go ahead, Grunt.
I was gonna say too, it's you can literally just keep extending for days. If you get one Therion in your graveyard, you can literally have some like Ein who equips it, and then he can immediately send it to the grave, pop something, and then it's in the grave for another one in your hand. And if you got the plant, for example, you can literally just get a search off of the same card you just pitched to destroy with, so you can gain advantage off of equipping and re-equipping these guys, and
Jeez.
it's and
The
honestly, for the first wave of support, it is pretty promising. We haven't even seen the rest of the spell and trap line yet.
Yeah, the best way to describe these guys is just what Inzectors could have been.
Ooh, yeah. I like that. That's a very good comparison. Because if you guys don't know, Inzectors, they equip. And so, but I think these are much more powerful, especially gaining the second effect of whatever it's equipped to it. So that's just really interesting. So,
There's an idea there. They literally watch them make an insect Therion that can
They
just
probably
abuse
will.
vectors. They probably will. I'm actually expecting that now.
that'd be kind of cool. I think it'd be interesting. So here we go now, going into some of these cards they were talking about. So, Perpetual Engine Aggro System. You can only use the first of the first and second effect of this card's name per turn, and only once that turn. Send one Therion's card from your deck to the graveyard. If this card is in your graveyard, you can target one Therion's card in your graveyard, add this card or that card to your hand, and if you do, place the other on the bottom of the deck. Then you have Therion's Ring and Colosseum Saucer. It's a field spell. You can only activate one card with this card's name per turn. When this card resolves, you can add one Therion's monster from the deck to your hand. Once per turn, if a monster or monsters you control would be destroyed by battle, you can send one Therion's card or Perpetual Engine Aggro System from your deck to the graveyard instead. Oh, that's wonderful. And then once per turn, when a monster or monsters is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can target one Therion's monster in your graveyard and add it to your
And it's in your
hand.
hand.
Wow. That's just
Recovery, recovery,
yeah,
recovery.
that's exactly what I just thought. Then we have Therion's Cross. It's a normal trap. You can only activate one card with this card's name per turn. When your opponent activates a monster effect while you control Therion's monster, activate one of these effects, or if you have Perpetual Engine Aggro System in your graveyard, you can activate both in sequence, negate that effect, and banish that monster. Oh wow, that's actually really solid. And then Therion's Stand Up Normal Trap. You can only activate one of the 1 and 2 effects of this card's name per turn, and only once that turn. Target one Therion's monster in your graveyard, special summon it, then you can equip one Therion's monster from your hand or graveyard to it. During the main phase, you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target one Therion's monster you control and one in the graveyard. Equip the target in the graveyard to the target that you control. Oh, wow. Okay, so a lot to digest there. So, Shadow, what do you really like about the traps and the spells?
They're all just generically the strongest support I've seen for an archetype that they get on release in a hot minute.
Yes, I agree with
Much.
that. I really like Cross. I mean, the
Yeah,
idea.
no,
Yeah, go
Cross is
ahead.
pretty good.
they have 3 in archetype Foolish Burials. Their field spell is just Magical Meltdown, but
Uh
a lot
huh.
better. Therion's Cross isn't absolutely insane because it's a negate if you have it, if it's also a banish if you have the second requirement. And then Therion stand-up just lets you put your cards back on the field.
Jeez, yeah, just amazing. I just think I agree with you. I haven't seen this kind of support right off the bat. That's all really good. It seems in quite a while. Grunt, where are the weaknesses we might not be seeing?
I mean, the weakness is obvious. With Dimensional Fissure or Macrocosmos, you need these monsters in your
Mm,
graveyard.
mm-hmm.
Necro Valley, you can't move monsters in the grave, so you couldn't equip them. It's that's literally it. Anything that affects the graveyard, which there are a good amount of cards
Yeah.
that can
Mm-hmm.
affect the graveyard, they can stop it, and it's a solid strategy regardless. And I think that it's one of those decks where it'll see good use. It's just that if it becomes too dominant, which I don't think it will, it's a good deck. It's not
Mm-hmm.
overpowered though. Um, if it, as long as it doesn't become like some crazy super dominant threat, it'll have a good enough set of mashups as long as your opponent doesn't have the side deck for it. But it's perfectly serviceable. It's not at all an offensive archetype. It's good. It's got the great
Yeah.
support that it needs. I'm just kind of waiting to see what else they get it because it feels like we'll get a few more cards in the upcoming sets.
What do you think, Grunt, the rarity is going to be for these cards?
So it's hard to say with Dimension Force. Dimension Force has quite a few things coming out where I can be like, oh yeah, that could be a secret. We're actually gonna go over another archetype next where I could see a couple of their cards being potentially secret, and
Mm-hmm.
it's hard to say. I think that I could see some of the Dino Rufia or the Dinorphia stuff being secret just because we have two secrets of that coming up in Battle of Chaos. I could
Mm-hmm.
see I don't know if I would see. I think the psychic synchro we saw.
Yeah.
The point is, I think we've seen a good set of secrets, but I think that we're gonna see some Therions as secrets and ultras, just because they're probably the most cohesive archetype in the set. I like the next archetype too, but looking at it more, Therions is probably the best archetype we're getting in the next set.
Yeah, it's really solid. It'd be neat if it were a budget option, but I don't see Konami doing that because, like you just said, it's not broken. I think it's good. And it's a very good start for sure. And if it gets more support, it has the potential to be extremely good. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens with this. Moving on to the next one now, the next archetype. So it's called Scareclaw. Scareclaw Astra here. It's a level 3 Earth Beast Warrior monster, or Beast monster. You can only special summon with the first procedure of this card's name once per turn. Procedure. I have not read that often in a Yu-Gi-Oh card. You can special summon this card from your hand to your main monster zone in the column, a Scarecrow monster you control, or its adjacent column. When you control a defense position Scareclaw monster, Scareclaw monsters you control in the extra monster zone can make it a number of attacks each battle phase, up to the number of defense position Scareclaw monsters with different names. Then we have the next one here. It's also level 3. You can only special summon with the first procedure of this card's name once per turn. You can special summon this card from your hand to your main monster zone in the column of a Scareclaw monster you control or its adjacent columns. So it looks like they all have this going right now. Your Scareclaw monsters in the extra monster zone gain 300 attack for each of your defense position monsters. And looking at the stats, guys, I see that they're all 0 here. So it looks like it's trying to do something defensively, which I like that because that's my roots with Yu-Gi-Oh! So I think that's interesting. Then we have Scareclaw Verania, a level 3 Earth again. You can only special summon with the first procedure of this card's name once per turn, and it's the same summoning condition. You can special summon this card from your hand to your main monster zone in the column a Scareclaw monster you control is in, or its adjacent columns. And then it's the second effect that we really got to look at. If your Scareclaw monster in your extra monster zone attacks a defense position monster, you get to inflict piercing battle damage. But finally, we get to the first one here. It's the level 4 that actually has attack to them. And this is Scareclaw Right Heart. You can only special summon with the first procedure of this card's name once per turn, and you can also only use its second effect once per turn. So again, it's the same summoning condition, main monster zone in the column of Scareclaw monster or the adjacent columns. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can add one Scareclaw spell or trap from your deck to your hand. Then, if there are 3 or more defense position monsters on the field, you can draw one card. Ooh, interesting. Okay, so Grunt, you said this was the archetype you were really looking forward to, right? What is it about them that makes them so special?
So we'll kind of see this when we go over their one link monster. So they've only got one link monster at the moment, and what I like about them is I do admittedly just kind of like the darker aesthetic here. I mean, they're Earth except for this last guy, but they got kind of this weird aesthetic to them, and some people are saying this is kind of like a different take on Crusadia, which I would agree.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of gonna have a different. You're kind of gonna see that the link. It's kind of Crusadia, but a different style, and I just kind of like Reichard being able to search and summon itself while also getting a potential draw. So
Yeah.
if anything in this archetype is going to be secret, in my opinion, it's probably going to be Reichard. But that's assuming they make this secret. I've heard a lot. Some people say this is good. Some people say it's bad. I think it just depends on how you look at it, especially with the rest of the archetype.
Okay. Shadow, your impressions so far?
Seeing them by themselves doesn't do them justice. Once you look at the link monster, you'll understand why they all have these types of effects.
Okay.
But yeah, I can see Reichard being a secret just because a search and a draw on a single card
Oh yeah.
are crazy good.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
It gives me Albaz, or not Albaz, Aluber. It gives me Aluber vibes where the whole archetype doesn't have to be like super high rarity, but they might have a few up there, and Reichard's going to be the one secret member.
Okay. Well, let's take a look at that because, I was just going to say, I'm sure it's coming up. So we've got Scareclaw, Trich. Is that Trich Heart?
it's loading 1 second.
Yeah.
It's Scareclaw Tree's Heart.
Treesh Heart. Okay. So it's a Link 3, and it's a Beast Warrior. It takes 3 effect monsters and has to be Link summoned. So here's the first effect. All face-up monsters on the field are changed to defense. That's good. It's unaffected by activated effects from any defense position monster. That's really good. Once per turn, if this card is in the extra monster zone, you can target 1 level 3 Scareclaw monster in your grave. You cannot special summon monsters for the rest of this turn except for Scareclaw monsters. Also special summon the targeted monster, and if you do, add 1 Scareclaw monster from your deck to your hand. That's great. And then we have Visas equals Starfrost. It's a level 6 light warrior tuner. You can only use the first effect of this card's name once per turn. If this card is in your hand, you can target 1 monster you control with a different type and attribute, destroy it. And if you do, you get to special summon this card. When this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you can make this card gain attack equal to half the destroyed monster's original attack or defense, whichever is higher. Okay, so Shadow, I see what you're saying here about the Link monster. What just makes it so good?
The fact that it's a forced area level limit B without the level requirement.
Yes.
It hits ranked monsters. It's going to hit synchros. It's unaffected by those effects. You get a special summon a card you just used to link summon it, and you get a search on top of that. Visas to Frost, I really don't see a reason why it's here.
The reason why Visas to Frost is here is because you'll see that some of the spells mention him, and I was gonna get to that. I was gonna say real quick that
okay.
I was just gonna say real quick. First things first, Visas to Frost, you'll notice, has kind of the aesthetic. And if you look at Reichard from the last page, they've got the same hairdo, their stats are inverted. So it's implied that there's a relation with the archetype because he's mentioned in some of the archetypal spells. So some people are seeing him as kind of another example of Albaz, where he might see use in more decks in the future, and he's got his own set of lore that's growing because
Interesting.
people think that people are starting to think that Starfrost is tied to like this lore that includes Drytron and Earth's Arctics. It's a long story, but he kind of fits their aesthetic too.
Very
I can see
interesting.
it.
Oh, sorry. What were you gonna say, Shadow?
I can see this defrost looking like it has some Drytron or static stuff going
Yeah,
on in it.
yeah, absolutely. I think Grunt makes a good point with that. And speaking of those spells, let's go ahead and look at them. So the first one here is the field spell. You can only activate one card with this card's name per turn. Also, you can only use the third effect once per turn. When this card resolves, you can add one Scareclaw monster or one Visa is equal Starfrost from your deck to your hand. Monsters your opponent controlled lose 100 attack and defense for each defense position monster on the field. If there are 3 or more defense position monsters on the field, you can target one card your opponent controls and destroy it. Scareclaw Nova. It's a normal spell. You can only use the second effect of this card's name once per turn. Target one Scareclaw monster or one Visa's Starfrost from your graveyard. Special summon it in defense. If a Scareclaw linked monster or linked monsters you control would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard instead. Oh wow. Shadow, they're both cards seem very good to me here. Are there any downsides I'm not seeing?
Not realistically, especially the Scareclaw Nova. It's a monster reborn in
Mhm.
archetype that is not a hard once per turn for a summoning
Yes.
ability. And the other one's just your standard Rota card for the entire archetype with a pop effect on it.
Yeah, because I'm assuming Grunt that it's going to be easy to get 3 in defense.
Well, yeah, if you open with 2 to 3, including Rykard, you literally can just summon one, special summon Rykard, search one, draw one potentially if you already extended more, and getting 3 of these guys is not an issue because they all have the same special summoning clause. And
Right.
again, we'd expect more. I'm just gonna say the funny thing is, I don't know what is up with the translation of the field spell here, but Shisekai equals Liphobia is supposedly the Japanese, but the translation to English, as brought up, is Liphobia, the wanton and willful world of desire. So I don't know if Konami is making a jab at some sort of trope or something, but it is kind of a weird title they gave it.
Yeah,
I
I
can see
agree.
the joke if they're going with a really long name for the other one. Is that one of the more popular anime types they have are called isekais, and this is a shisekai.
Like a shitty isekai.
Yes.
Because if you look at the picture, it's like, oh yeah, no, this place is horrible. You would not want to be
Oh,
here.
wait, that would make sense why Stefrost is like that. That could be the person that got isekai'd. That makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
Isekai,
Yes.
instead of being pulled into a magical world, they get pulled into this world of evil stuff.
Yep,
I can
makes
randomly see
sense.
this being related to adventures if that's the case, because adventures are just that.
Nice. Great thoughts, guys. Fantastic.
Point is, they all include Starfrost. They're probably gonna give some random synchro extension into this deck, or for all we know, some other random sub archetype. It's kind of neat. The field spell really, it does what it does. The other effects are cute, but it's always about the searching. And again, having your own monster reborn that's searchable, that also doubles as a protection for your link monster. That's
Yeah.
it's what the deck needs.
Absolutely. Moving on to the traps now. So we've got Scareclaw's Splash. It's a continuous trap. You can only use the second effect of this card's name once per turn. Once per turn, you can target one Scareclaw monster or one Visa Starfrost you control. This turn, it can attack while in face-up defense position. Ooh, I like that. Not 6 Sam, but super heavy samurai vibes there. If it does, apply whichever is higher between its attack and defense for damage calculation. When your opponent activates a card or effect while you control a Scareclaw monster in your extra monster zone, you can send this face-up card from the spell and trap zone to the graveyard, negate the effect. Scareclaw Alternative, it's a normal trap. You can use the second effect of this card's name once per turn. Tribute 3 Scareclaw monsters you control. Tribute 3 Scareclaw monsters. Your opponent can only special summon monsters in defense position for the rest of this turn. That's really neat. And then the second part, during your turn, you can banish this card from your graveyard and inflict 100 damage to your opponent for each defense position monster on the field. So, Grunt, my question here is for the second trap is does that mean you can still summon your links and be okay? Or does it
Nope,
lock you
because
out?
nope, because even though links can't be played in defense, when they are played, they are still technically being played in attack position. And so, because you can't summon a link in defense position, you cannot link summon
Wow.
under this trap. Now, that being said,
That's
tributing
a
three
brutal
monsters,
trap.
tributing tributing three monsters is kind of a hefty cost at the moment for the deck. I'm assuming again that we'll see some more support down the line for it that makes it better. To me right now, it gives me Orcust vibes where we've got a ton of good starting pieces and we just need a few more cards to make it really good. So
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. I could see this being pretty cool. I like the aesthetic of it, and eh,
Yeah.
it's a gimmicky trap on the the second one. The first one is pretty darn good just because it gives you some extra utility as a one of, and you can even use
Mm-hmm.
it to negate something that's going to try and get rid of your link.
Absolutely. Shadow, what do you think?
The first card is just generically good. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
lets you do lets you do the things that the defense position monsters are lacking. Is just doing their fights and everything because they're in defense, but they can still attack now.
Right.
Even though it's technically not needed since the big boy is going to gain all their passive effects and probably kill your opponent on the next turn anyways. The Omni Negate is nice. And then the Scareclaw alternative, the first effect is just lacking the guaranteeing you have 3 Scareclaws on the field.
Yeah. That's its definite drawback, but I picture at some point something happening like Grunt saying that there's going to be more support to maybe help that happen. Then we move on to branded, let's see, forfeiture? What would that be, guys?
That would be
Forfeiture.
forfeiture, yeah.
Forfeiture, thank you. You can only activate one card with this card's name per turn. Target one fusion monster you control and one monster special summon from the extra deck that your opponent controls and return them to the deck. During the end phase of this turn, each player can special summon one fusion monster from their extra deck that lists Fallen of Albaz as a material. And then the next one here, it's a normal trap. You can only use each effect of this card's name once per turn. Tribute one Dogmatica monster or monsters, or Ritual Fusion or Synchro monsters, whose total levels are the same as a monster you are ritual summoning. Ritual summon one Dogmatica monster from your deck, hand, or deck. Banish this card from your grave, then target two Dogmatica monsters with different levels in your graveyard. Add one of those monsters to your hand and place the other on the bottom of your deck. Ooh, interesting. Does this go on? Yeah, it does. Okay, so then we have Abyssal Dragon Alba. It's a level 8 dragon fusion. So its summoning requirements are Fallen of Albaz plus one dragon monster. Or
1+.
you could have more. Yeah. This card cannot be used as a fusion material. This must be fusion summoned by sending the mentioned cards from either player's monster zones. Oh, wow. To the grave or special summon this card from the extra deck. And to special summon this card from the extra deck and cannot be special summoned by other ways. This card can attack your opponent's monsters a number of times each battle phase, up to the number of materials used for its summon. Oh my goodness. Once per turn during the end phase, if this card is in the graveyard because it was sent there this turn, you can add one Polymerization normal spell or Fusion normal spell card from your deck to hand. Wow. And then Branded Exile, it's a normal trap. You can only activate one card with this card's name per turn. Target one Despia monster or level 8 higher fusion monster that's in your graveyard. Special summon it, and then you can apply this effect. Fusion summon one level 8 or higher fusion monster from your extra deck by banishing monsters from either field as materials. Oh, wow. Okay, Grunt, what are you thinking here with this one?
So, the fusion here is literally a Chimera Tech Fortress Dragon for Albaz that targets any and all things dragon, which,
It's
You know,
pretty good.
I like to call this guy the Dragon Link Curb Stomper because you literally just normal summon Albaz, and as long as they don't have the Heretic Seal, you just eat the whole board.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny. The two cards we looked at before, Forfeiture and the Dogmatica Trap, are
Uh-huh.
both
Yeah.
interesting, but they're not really anything to write home about. Forfeiture is literally going to be horrible when we get the new Albaz support because everyone is probably going to be trying to play that fusion, or at least more decks will be trying to play that fusion than
Sure.
most, and so it's just kind of not a good card at the moment. Maybe if it becomes a more niche deck. The trap ritual summons, I don't know why Dogmatica suddenly is focusing on
Yeah, the
two
ritualing.
ritual
Yeah.
monsters. Like, there's more ways to ritual summon than ritual monster options, so
Mm-hmm.
I'm not complaining. I just feel like they need more rituals, and I'm guessing we'll get one soon.
Yeah, it
Um,
does seem odd though, because fusion summoning has been the deal for Fallen of Albaz for so long now. I'm surprised they're trying to switch it more towards the ritual summoning. Just seems quite odd to me.
yeah, and I mean, Braided Exile speaks for itself. Despia really is looking like a super solid deck with the Albaz support that we're getting. And the fact that they now have a trap that lets you bring back any Despia or Fusion Monster, and then just, being able to super poly.
Mm-hmm.
Um, this doesn't even have to be a Despia exclusive thing. There are plenty of other fusion decks that could run a small branded engine just to abuse this as a kind of a weaker super poly, if only because it can be interrupted.
Yeah.
And
No.
searched.
And search, yes, it can be search, which is a big deal, and it is a trap. But at the end of the day, it's a trap that can serve as interruption and a way to generate advantage. It's just, yeah, no. Compared to the other branded stuff here, the trap and the fusion here are definitely way better than the other two.
Yeah, very interesting for sure. Which is your favorite here, Shadow Mew? What do you like the most?
Honestly, I think that the Branded Exile is probably my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just glad they specifically worded the Abyssal Dragon this way. Because if that said it had any polymerization card, it would probably be a very pricey card.
Yeah,
But it has to be a
absolutely.
normal spell, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I agree. Moving on here. So now we've got, oh, this looks interesting. So, Tactical Masters, and we've got Valiant's World. Okay, it's a field spell. You can only use the second effect of this card's name once per turn, and I love the art. When this card resolves, place one Valiant's field spell from your deck face up in your opponent's field zone, except Valiant's World. If there are two cards in the field zone, the turn player can target one monster card in their spell and trap zone. The turn player special summons it to their main monster zone in the same column. And then we've got the next one. So there's two field spells here, guys. You can only use the second effect of this card's name once per turn, just like the other. When this card resolves, place one Valiant's field spell from your deck face up in your opponent's field spell, except for Valiant's World. Let's see what that is. Going
Burning
Wizen.
Vissen.
Or Wizen. Thank you. These are interesting.
Vissen, it's German.
Wissen. Okay.
Yep, Vissen.
Okay, thank you. If there are two cards in the field zone, the turn player can target one effect monster in their opponent's main monster zone that's in the same column as a monster the turn player controls. Place the targeted monster's face up in its controller's spell and trap zone in the same column as a continuous spell. If there's already a card in that zone, it is destroyed. Wow. Oh, that's pretty interesting here. Shadow Mew, do you know what's going on with this archetype? This is different to
They
me.
are a really, really powerful pendulum style deck, as you'll see with the monsters. Because I don't think any of the monsters actually have to normal summon.
Oh, wow.
It's a very interesting, complicated deck that I honestly kind of agree with what others say. I compare it to DDD and how it has a ton of paths that you can take with it. So this is probably something I'm going to pick up if it's not too expensive. Although playtesting tells me Konami's probably making this the best archetype in the set.
Oh, well, I already love the way the art looks. This one here on the right, it gives me Final Fantasy VII vibes when I used to play that game back in the day.
You'll kind of see the aesthetic measured in the two cards. The best people are comparing it to is that the two field spells represent like two different nations and or like civilizations.
Yeah.
And you'll notice that as we look at the monsters, half of the Valiants really fit this more Japanese aesthetic, whereas the other ones definitely fit this more cybernetic aesthetic. So
Ooh, see, I
you'll
like
kind
that. That's
so
cool.
it's kind of, and I think that people have compared it to like playing like kind of like playing
Civilization.
not even Civilization. I've heard some people say that it's kind of like playing a League of Legends or something. Like it's that type of game. What's that called?
Oh,
MOBA?
wow.
Yeah, MOBA. Jeez, I didn't expect the text to be that small.
Me too. This is awfully tiny. Yeah, so here we go, guys. So the first one, Priestess of the Valiants. It's a level 2 water spellcaster. Here's the pendulum effect, and it's a scale 1. You can use the pendulum effect of this card's name once per turn. During your main phase, you can special summon this card to your main monster zone in this card's column. Also, you cannot special summon for the rest of this turn except for Valiant monsters and monsters from your extra deck. That's good. I like already that, yeah, it's a free special, but at the same time, you're locked into this archetype then. I think that's good.
It's
Sorry.
It's literally all of them are literally curtain raisers, except they actually lock you into the archetype.
See, and I like that. I think that way it doesn't get broken by being put into too many other decks.
And I will say real quick that
mhm.
when I got these when I got the news from these, the attack and defense are common knowledge. There's not a lot to write home about. It's nothing groundbreaking. So literally, like the lower level monsters have less than 1500 attack. The biggest ones have barely over 2000 at most. So
Okay.
just to kind of give everyone an idea here, I just didn't want anyone asking where the attack was. They just, for whatever reason, did not have the stats on these news
that
panels.
that's no problem. So the monster effect, you can only use the first and second monster effect of this card's name once per turn. If you control this special summon card, you can add one Valiant spell from your deck to your hand. If this card is moved from a monster zone to another, you can add one Valiant monster from your deck to your hand, except this card here. Then we have the next one, Archer of the Valiants. It's a level 4 water spellcaster, and the Pendulum effect. You can only use the Pendulum effect of this card's name once per turn. During your main phase, you can special summon this card to your main monster zone in this card's column. Also, you cannot special summon for the rest of this turn, except for Valiant's monsters and monsters from your extra deck. Monster effect. You can only use the first and second monster effect of this card's name each once per turn. If you control this special summon card, you can target one effect monster on the field, toss a coin, and if it's heads, negate the monster's effects. If it's tails, its attack becomes halved. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, and if this card is moved from a monster zone to another, you can target one card on the field, toss a coin, and if it's heads, destroy that card. If it's tails, return it to the hand. Ooh, I don't know about that one. Okay, then we've got the Ninja of the Valiants. Beautiful artwork here. Oh, wow. The pendulum effect, it says here you can only use it once per turn. If Valiant's world is in the field zone, and if you control a water Valiant's monster, you can special summon this card to your main monster zone in this card's column. The monster effect. You can only use the first and second effect of the monster's effect of this card's name once per turn. And notice it's all scale 1s so far. You can target one other monster in your main monster zone, move it to the adjacent monster zone. If this card is moved from a monster zone to another, you can target one Valiant's monster card in your spell and trap zone and special summon to your main monster zone in its column. And then we have, Yugioh, Warrior of the Valiants. And again, I love the way the art looks here. It's a level 8 water spellcaster. You can only use the pendulum effect of this card's name once per turn. If Valiant's World is in the field zone, if you control a Water Valiant's monster, you can special summon this card to your main monster zone in this card's column. And then the monster effect, you can only use the first and second effect of this card's name once per turn. You can target one face-up card in the spell and trap zone, return it to the hand. If this card is moved from a monster zone to another, you can fusion summon one Valiant's fusion monster from your extra deck, using monsters from your hand or field as materials, as well as cards that are in your pendulum zone. Woo, what do you think here, Shadow?
First, I want to ask, are you doing okay? You just read like a whole essay for your class?
Yeah, I know. That is a ton of reading, right? Jiminy Christmas.
It's literally pendulums in a nutshell. I would just say that for the next ones, you probably... literally, all their pendulum effects are the exact same.
Okay.
They can all special summon themselves, but the two higher levels, because, spoiler alert, we're going to go into another half the archetype here next.
Oh, okay. No, that's
the
fine.
6s and the 8s do require like their own version of Valiants. There's a reason why they're specifying the attribute. So the pendulum effects are all the same. There's literally nothing special. All the main deck Valiants, spoiler, have just a scale of 1. They honestly are a pendulum deck that doesn't focus much on pendulum summoning. They just use pendulums as their mechanic.
Interesting. But Shadow, what's your first impressions?
The fact that they all have the move zone effect is kind of weird. Just because only one of them does it. However, there is a continuous spell that does exist that allows you to just move your monster zones.
Yeah.
And it's probably going to be seeing play in this deck just because...
Wouldn't that be, is it Senate Switch? Is that the one you're thinking of?
Switch.
Yeah.
Senate Switch is going to see actual competitive play because of this archetype.
And I kind of like that. It kind of makes me think of like chess.
It actually makes sense because if they're like going for a game aesthetic, it's just their game pieces anyways.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting. And just looking at the art here, I just think it looks fantastic. I think this is going to be fun to play. So very interesting for sure. Shadow, which card do you feel is the strongest out of the ones we've looked at so far?
Definitely the level 2, because it searches you a spell, and if it moves zones, it searches a monster, which can get you into Hojo or any of the other ones if you're missing them.
Yeah, absolutely. Jeez.
The ninja's probably the second best, if only because he facilitates your movement. But Priestess, definitely with all her searching, is better.
Yeah, just really interesting of an archetype. Let's go ahead and move on to the next ones now. I'll skip the pendulum effects. So the monster effect here of Valiant's Buster Baron, you can only use the first and second monster effect of this card's name each once per turn. If you control this special summon card, you can target one other Valiant's monster in your main zone, move that target to an adjacent monster zone. If this card is moved from a monster zone to another, you can target one card in the pendulum zone, place it in a face-up adjacent spell and trap zone as a continuous spell. Oh, that's interesting. And man, everything seems about going to the spell and trap zones are monsters lately. Very interesting. Then we have Voltage, and I think this is what Grunt was talking about, guys, when he said there was one side that had this Japanese feel to the way it looks, and now you've got this, high-tech, almost Tron-like look to the characters. And then the monster effect here for Voltage, she's level 4. You can only use the first and second monster effect of this card's name once per turn. If you control this special summon card, you can place one face-up Valiant's pendulum monster from your extra deck face-up in your spell and trap zone as a continuous spell. If this card is moved from a monster zone to another, you can place one face-up Valiant's pendulum monster from your extra deck into your pendulum zone. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, then we've got Valiant's Mad. Now I'm having Gundam vibes looking at these two. I mean, that's the first thing I think looking at them with, the way it's almost like a robotic suit, and then you've got the weapons. So
I got more of a Power Rangers vibe.
Oh, you know what? You could see that as well. Yeah, so individuals who like those types of shows, this is the deck probably for you. So looking at the monster effect, you can only use the first and second name monster effects once per turn. During your main phase, and this goes with Valiant's Mad Guys, you can roll a 6-sided die and excavate cards from the top of your deck equal to the result. And if you do, you can add one excavated Valiant's card to your hand. Also, shuffle any remaining back into the deck. If this card is moved from a monster zone to another, you can roll a 6-sided die. And if the result is 2, 3, 4, or 5, special summon one monster card from your spell and trap zone to your main monster zone in its column. And then we have the Valiant's Dominator. Dominator. I like it. This is my way of taking it out on you. You can only use the first and second monster effect of this card's name once per turn. You can target one set card in the spell and trap zone. It cannot be activated this turn. If this card is moved from a monster zone to another, you can target one face-up monster in your opponent's main monster zone, take control of it, and if you do, treat it as a Valiant's monster. Also, it cannot declare an attack or activate its effects. Ooh, that is interesting. Is there more? Oh, there is. Okay, so and this looks like it's the boss for both sides. I like this. So for this one, it's a monster effect, and this must be a link monster or something because it says 3 Valiant monsters.
Fusions.
Oh, they're fusions. Thank you. Okay. You can only use the first monster effect of this card's name once per turn. During the main phase, quick effect, you can target one effect monster in your opponent's main monster zone, place that monster in your opponent's spell and trap zone in that monster's column as a continuous spell. If a card is already there in the zone, destroy it. And if you destroy a monster card this way, your opponent loses life points equal to its attack. Ooh, that could get interesting. If this special summon card you control is destroyed by card effect, you can place this card in your pendulum zone. And then Genesis, again, love the name here. You can only, it takes 2 Valiant monsters, must first be either fusion summoned or special summoned from your face down extra deck by attributing 1 level 5 or higher fusion Valiant, non-fusion Valiant's monster in the same column as an extra monster extra monster zone. If this card is special summoned, you can target one monster card in your opponent's spell and trap zone, return it to the hand, and if you do, inflict damage to your opponent equal to its attack. Then this card gains attack equal to half the damage that they took. Woo! This is quite the archetype. Okay, so Grunt, what do you really like looking at this?
I just like the idea they've got here of the 2 different sides. I mean, they both work in tandem with each other because they both like being moved. The big thing here is that they do actually have decent pendulum effects on these cards just because, these are the actual boss monsters. So I don't think we went over those. So just to give everyone a quick idea, the sporty Japanese warrior one on the left, literally just lets you special summon it like any of the other ones, or you can just get a free movement in any card's column, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
And Grand Duke literally can also bring itself back because if they're going to go with the Pendulum Zone, they've already been properly summoned to get on the board in the first place. And again, they just have these great effects. And it's unfortunate that the first one takes 3 materials because it's definitely the better one in most situations, but they're both pretty darn solid, and again, you don't even have to follow this deck in its own archetype. There have been plenty of people experimenting with, synchro builds, or I think there's even been some link builds. The point is, this deck has a lot of potential just because of how it can swarm and surge.
No, makes sense to me. Shadow, any additional thoughts on it?
I will say that aside from just how generically good this archetype, it's like the Therions. They're just all the stuff they're showing right now is objectively just good on release. They're not gonna just flop around until they get their support. They're actually gonna be able to do some things. And then the only other thing I have to say is it's gonna be a rulings nightmare for how pendulum effects work.
We also so actually I was gonna get to that. I'm pretty sure that even if they're placed in the pendulum zone and they're moved, I'm assuming they're not counted as being in the pendulum zone and they can't use their pendulum effect, and that's why there's plenty of cards that say you can take a monster and bring it out of that spell and trap zone.
Yeah.
So that's my best guess. All I'm going to say is that knowing how Konami usually reveals these sets, first things first, this comes out in just over 6 weeks from now in the OCG, and I think it just got revealed in the TCG for its date. Point is, we're probably going to see at least one more card from this archetype, and it could really make things look even better.
Awesome. Just awesome. So then we have these cards here. Oh dear, I'm gonna have to move closer to the screen, guys. Okay, so
Yeah, I'm sorry.
no, that's okay.
Better renders.
I'm just trying to make sure I can read them properly. So you can ritual summon this card with a Libromancer card. If this card is ritual summoned by using a monster or monsters on the field, it cannot be destroyed or banished by card effects. Ooh, that's really good. Gains 200 attack and defense each time your opponent activates a card or effect, while you control this card with attack less than 3,000 in the monster zone. And then the next one we have here is the girl there. You can reveal one ritual monster in your hand, special summon this card from your hand. During your opponent's turn, quick effect, you can ritual summon one Libromancer ritual monster from your hand by tributing monsters from your hand or field whose total levels equal or exceed its level. And you can only use each effect of Libromancer Magic Girl once per turn. And then we have Doombroker here. You can ritual summon this card with a Libromancer card. If this card is ritual summoned by using a monster or monsters on the field, it can attack directly. You can only use each of the following effects of Libromancer Doombroker once per turn. During your main phase, you can set one Libromancer trap directly from your deck. When this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent, you can target one face-up monster your opponent controls, and you can shuffle it into the deck, which is always really good. Libromancer Agent now, you can reveal one ritual monster in your hand, special summon this card from your hand, then target one Libromancer card in your graveyard, except Libromancer Agent. Add it to your hand, and then if you added a spell or trap by its effect, place one card from your hand on the bottom of the deck. You can only use each effect of Libromancer Agent once per turn. Woo! Okay, I'm just going to let us talk about that first. Okay, so Grunt, looking at these, what do you like about this ritual summoning deck? What do you think?
So, kind of like other TCG exclusives, we only know about, I believe, 7. We only have like 7 cards in the archetype right now, so it's pretty obvious that they're like, it's going to be another spiral. We're going to keep giving you support, which, in my opinion, they've been doing a horrible job of that lately because some decks, like Mutants, are just now getting more support after their first wave. Other decks, like
Materia
Warlock,
Actors.
Materia Actors got shafted. Beach Troopers, I now feel like they're getting shafted because their last set of support really dropped the ball in a lot of people's opinion. So, I like the idea. Firestarter, is pretty good for what it is. For a low-level starter that you could summon with one monster, the fact that it's, essentially a Spirit Reaper but better, and it can be buffed up, it's pretty good. Magic Girl is kind of weird because we don't have her ritual counterpart yet. You'll see in the next card that we've essentially got like 1-for-1 representation. So like Agent is Doombroker, Firestarter is the other main deck, and Magic Girl doesn't have a ritual yet. Their levels match up even, so Doombroker's cool. I don't see Drytron using him. Some people want Drytron to try and use him, but 2,500 attack is kind of awkward. And you're not going to really be able to splash these into Drytron or any of the other mean ritual decks right now, but I like the aesthetic.
Yeah, and Shadowmew, I don't know about you, but I think the art looks really nice. What's your thoughts on that?
I think they look really good, and I'm kind of getting a slight like Persona vibe with how they changed their appearance. I will say, however, Konami, I'm watching you. Don't think I didn't notice you stole the effect off Metaphys Executioner and threw it on Firestarter.
all fairness, Doombroker literally has that Joker Arsene vibe. Like,
Yeah.
it's literally got like the Phantom Thief aesthetic. Firestarter, a lot of people, like, we'll see this in the next monster. A lot of people were joking that it literally looked like stands from JoJo. But I'm like,
Nah, this is Persona.
but I'm 100% with you. This is Persona. We've got these geeky people who adopt these much cooler abilities. So I don't know. I like the aesthetic.
Yeah,
vibes,
I like
but
the way it looks. I think it looks
Firestarter,
fantastic.
your days are numbered. I'm so mad they literally took the best effect in Metaphys and just slapped it on a different card.
A different card. Not right. Not right. Then we've got Libromancer first appearance. It's a field spell. Again, the art here just looks beautiful. When this card is activated, you can add one Libromancer monster from your deck to your hand with a different name than the cards you control. During your main phase, you can ritual summon one Libromancer ritual monster from your hand by attributing monsters from your hand or field whose total levels equal or exceed its level, and you can only activate one Libromancer first appearance per turn. Then we've got the Trap intervention. When your opponent activates a card or effect, target one Libromancer ritual monster you control, return it to the hand, and if you do, negate the activation or the activated effect. Then you can special summon one Libromancer monster from your hand or graveyard. You can only activate one Libromancer intervention per turn. And then we have Geek Boy, and I see what you're seeing now, especially with how he looks kind of geeky and then he looks totally awesome in the background. You can reveal one ritual monster in your hand, special summon this card from your hand. If this card is special summoned, you can add one Libromancer spell from your deck to your hand. You can only use each effective Libromancer Geek Boy once per turn. Is he the only non-pendulum, guys? Or no, that was not pendulum. I mean rituals. He doesn't have a counterpart.
No, he does.
Firestarter.
So he had Firestarter. So it's the girl. Gotcha. Okay.
Now, I will say the main reason why Libromancer Geek Boy is going to be really, really good. Say it with me now. E-Telly's at 3.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Very interesting.
Yeah, I'm literally going to say this right now, guys. It's a cool archetype concept. I don't think this is going to be another Warrock or Dreamir, at least. I'm just going to say real quick that if this set ends up being cheap on this end, yeah, maybe pick up the Libromancer stuff if you think it's cool. It's not going to be, in my opinion, a very expensive set of cards at first, just because there's nothing it's going to do yet.
Yeah.
Only 3 of them have ultra rarity too, which makes it even cheaper.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, that's really
Actually,
good.
Geek Boy might be a secret. That picture's kind of scuffed.
Yeah,
that's ultra.
Okay.
Oh, even still, it looks nice.
Well, actually, no wait. That's because that's the premiere version of Geek Boy that you get like from the sneak peek. I think you're right. I think Geek Boy is actually secret.
He's probably gonna be secret. Libromancer first appearance, and the Fiend one we're probably gonna be ultra rare, and then all the rest of them are just gonna be secret.
Let me look it up. It's already on TCG Player.
Oh, is it really? Nice. Oh, wow.
People are already doing pre-sales. Geek Boy, yeah, he's secret.
Ooh.
A lot of this Battle of Chaos stuff isn't going to be worth much. It's literally, hey, let's shove Blue Eyes and Darkness into the same set. People will buy it.
They will. Unfortunately, they will. So guys, that is actually the end of the presentation. So we have made it through all the slides. So Shadow Mew and Grunt, thank you guys so much. We appreciate it.
No problem.
No problem at all.
All right. So guys, we will see you next time.